Today, I learned how to braid hair, and I may talk about it on Comic Book Canon. That's right, my daughter is 6 years old, and I finally tried to learn how to braid hair. She took a bath today, and I did the best that I could because she preferred it in a braid, and it just does not look good. But I tried. That's the most important thing. I tried. Also, obviously, as you can see, I am not at my place, my comic book cave. But hey, we're still going to have a show. And super excited about this show. Not only because of this guy, my good friend, partner in crime, and co-host of the show, the Canon, Chris. Hello, how are you? But also because of this guy, Drew, aka
What's up?
Comic Books. Happy to have you on. Boom!
Hello.
You're right in the show. You are a guest co-host of the Canon. First question, Chris. I get the first question. How does that make you feel, Drew?
Honestly, I was just sitting here watching Chris come on. I'm like, I gotta get a freaking couch for live streams, man. Like, I'm doing it wrong.
Lounging.
Well, you know what?
No, I'm happy to be here.
You look good. You got purple lighting. Actually, you got nice, great depth of field. Chris is just like,
Yeah,
I'm tired. Just leave me alone. And you are tired. We're just going to get right into this show. Normally we have news, but I'll tell you what, news is pretty far in between here. It's kind of a dry spell between Comic-Con, from Comic-Con to what we got at D23, I think is the 10th of September. I can't remember off the top of my head. However, there's some things we could be talking about, guys, as a community that I think we're gonna take the time to just talk about. And guys, I'm gonna tee up the conversation. We're going to talk C2E2, but it's been talked to death. Am I right? It's been talked to death. So we're not going to bring up that specific conversation, but y'all know that there was controversy there. And with controversy, it seems like within this community, layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of more controversy is created. It's almost like a wake. In the wake of that boat, it's like, boom, it just kind of spirals out of control. And in my opinion, I don't want to speak for Drew or Chris, the way we see it, or I see it, is that it kind of shows the true colors of certain community members here. And that's how I'm going to tee this conversation off. Chris just had a live stream. And, Drew, I'm just going to toss it to you based upon what I said. If you agree with that, you don't agree with that, what you'd like to see better within our community. It is a great community no matter what. We do a good job. Things kind of settle down. And then the focus is there on the positive things within this community. But Drew, why don't you just kick it off? How about that?
Okay. Well, honestly, I don't know that many of my thoughts have been out there in video anyway. I've kind of basically just been in the IG conversation about it. Which, let's just get out of the way. There have been some amazing memes that have come out of this, some of them are pretty savage. I'll give that disclaimer, whether you agree with them or not. And I'm always good, when good memes come out of something. And I think secretly I kind of like to watch the world burn every once in a while, for better or worse. But I've just been amazed at how insane this has all gotten. And I mean, I was right there as it was happening. I wasn't in the line, but I was coming back from the show. Literally a week ago, I was in a car on the road back from C2E2 on the phone with somebody who was in line watching all this happen. I spent, I don't know how much time in DMs over the course of the weekend, just when we were still trying to figure out, okay, there was a thing that happened. What was it? Who was involved? Yada, yada, yada. And I was in the room, and honestly, I knew how big of a deal it was going to be, because if a con exclusive variant situation is on my radar, then you kind of know it's going to be a big deal, because that's not my bag at all. Like, typically, this is not a branch of the hobby I even spend any energy on. And for it to have just sucked all the oxygen out of the room this week. And yeah, it was a slow news week, but Sandman just came out. We're looking at She-Hulk coming out this week. There are other things happening, but it just absolutely has eclipsed everything, and not necessarily in the best way, really. So that's my top line, I guess, on it.
No, that's a good top line right there. Now, Chris, you've actually been personally attacked on a few things for seems like no reason at all. And you kind of you went over that in your previous live stream, but in terms of what we can do to, as Drew said, again, it's a slow news week, but we have some positive things coming out within the community in terms of content we all love to see. What can we do to kind of steer the ship out of this and get out of the muck?
Well, to answer your piece, or to address what you said about being personally attacked for seemingly no reason at all, I mean, there is a reason. And every time I address these things and I continue to be me, who I am, I continue to be completely transparent and completely raw and real. The reason is because I don't conform to a box. The reason is because I don't pick a side like we're playing dodgeball in elementary school, or like, we're playing jocks versus stoners in high school, or whatever it may be. I don't pick a side on things. And the more I talk about this, it's evident that, and I don't want to say the majority, because I do believe that there's a majority. First off, like you were saying earlier, Jeff, at the end of the day, this comic book community isn't defined by its drama and toxicity. There is so much more good than there is not. Just like I do believe there are more genuine people out there that genuinely want, that genuinely have frustrations and concerns and want those things addressed. But what I think happens is you do have this minority. You have this loud minority. They're a minority, but they are very loud. And I think that loud minority almost feeds into a lot of and I will say majority now. The loud minority feeds into a large majority of these genuine people that genuinely want resolve, or they're genuinely frustrated. But the problem is when those genuine people have perception that's twisted and distorted or persuaded by this loud minority, the whole room becomes counterproductive. The whole room becomes toxic, no matter your intent. And it's become us versus them. This whole thing, it's us versus them. The real collectors, influencers. First off, what defines influencer? Because as far as I know, there are people with thousands and thousands of subscribers with thousands of views on their lives that are taking shots at influencers. These same people are selling comics on Whatnot or on Instagram or eBay, and they're flipping comics as well. But yet they're mad at like sellers or flippers. So, but yet they're saying that they're real collectors. Where's the line? So for me, it boils down to the fact that I've come out the gate with this, knowing that right now we've beaten a dead horse, but, and Drew said this earlier, there's a way to go about this. If we keep talking about it, it should be talked about in a certain way. And that goes to your question that you posed. Where do we take this? But because of what I just explained with that loud minority influencing this genuine majority, we're not getting anywhere. And there is accountability to be had on all sides. Yes, there's accountability from these big YouTubers or big sellers, whatever you want to call them, influencers. There's accountability from retailers, right? I mean, we know what the retailers are guilty of here. I mean, that's the root of this issue. Grading companies, business practices, community, like there's so much to learn and to flesh out and accountability to go around. But accountability will never be had because the people, a large portion of the people that are pointing fingers at what they call influencers or Whatnot sellers or whatever, they're going to, sorry, I apologize about that. They're going to keep perpetuating counterproductive responses. And I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna give you guys an example. Now, I went on my live stream and I addressed the fact that there's people that are personally calling me out just because I won't pick sides. I'm not us against them, right? And this individual was in my chat and was just trolling me the whole time, like, "Oh, your journal's a crybaby." Da, 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 da. It's like, and I said, I don't even need to respond to this, and I didn't. And I didn't even block anybody, but I put this one person in a timeout. This person goes on Instagram, tags me in a post, and shares it, puts it in their story, takes a screenshot of my live, puts crybaby journal and laugh emojis, clown emojis. Do you think that this person wants change? Do you all think that this person really thinks that people like Comic Tom or Gem Mint or Nerdy Girl, do you think they really think that they're ruining the hobby and they want to hold them accountable? Do you think they really care? Do you think they actually care about community? Because remember, I was called out for clout chasing. What do you think doing this is doing? Do you think they took a screenshot of me? And I'm a minnow compared to Comic Tom and Gem. I'm a minnow. But I'm a bigger fish in their eyes. Do you think that they're putting my face in my name and laugh emojis out there and sharing it because they have beef with me personally, or they really want to better their community? No. They have one intent and one intent only. They want validation. They want validation. And that is the sick, honest truth of social media. We care so much about how social media validates us in the image that we put out. Because if even if this person hated my guts and thought that I was this and I was that, do you think what they're doing actually addresses that? Absolutely not. And it solves nothing. So why that's all they care about doing. They don't care about if they really think that Comic Tom is pumping and dumping books like Tom gets blamed of all the time. And I'm not here to say he is or not. My point is this: if they really wanted to hold Tom accountable, do you think that they would be taking screenshots and making memes and playing around doing that, clout chasing? No. They would be looking for evidence, for proof. They would be having conversations. They would be asking the tough questions. They would be handling this in a way that is of the maturity level of the ages that almost all of us are. So I'll wrap up by saying this. To answer your question, Jeff, I don't know where we go. All I know is what I could do, and I'll go back to the pebble analogy that I've used over the last week more than once. There are people that are like, there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing will ever change. But I say one pebble into the stream changes the flow of the stream forever. One pebble, you may not notice it, but you keep throwing more pebbles in, you can dam that stream. One pebble at a time. And I may be one pebble, but I'm going to keep throwing in one pebble at a time. The only way that I know how, and it's in a productive way and not a counterproductive way. But I'll tell you, it's disheartening because I think there is accountability for bigger YouTubers and big sellers to be more transparent and to, it's all about making money. It is. It's not wrong to want to make money. It's a business, but every good business should run on good ethics and a good culture. And we as consumers have the power to affect that change. There's accountability when it comes to Black Flag as a retailer. There's accountability with CGC and how we want them to handle their business practice. But it's disheartening because what we're doing, what the majority of us are doing, isn't changing YouTubers. It's not, because they're just blocking you and putting you on mute. And at this point, I don't blame them. Why are they going to listen to you? Because all you need, all you want to do is freaking name drop them for clout. But yet I'm clout chasing. Ironic. And then it gets nowhere. So because nobody wants to have a conversation. I'm going to say, I brought this up in my live. I'm going to bring it up here, and then I'll end on this note. Big shout out to Dan Crafty Comics. I support their product. And again, I'm not a yes man. I wouldn't say I support their product for a paycheck or for likes and views. If I'm saying I support somebody, it means because I do with the bottom of my heart. Dan reached out and said a great quote. He said, "Who is right or wrong is at this point irrelevant. How we treat each other is what matters. How we try to listen matters, even when we disagree. And until we learn that it's not about pointing fingers, that we're all human, and it's not about, right or wrong is there, but that's not how we build the foundation. It's about learning from mistakes. Right or wrong is subjective. It really is. We could get into Kantian beliefs and all that and ideology, but we're not doing that. The bottom line is how we treat each other and how we work to come to solutions and how we communicate with each other, even when we disagree. And until us 30 and 40 and 50-year-old grown-ass men figure that simple freaking thing out, it ain't going nowhere.
Well, listen, you bring up good points. And we know this for a fact. This is going to settle down. Things are going to go coasting, and then something else is going to bump it back up, and we're going to see this all again. But, what that quote right there could be said for so many other things in this country, in this world, and it's sad. But, let's just talk about it, throw it out there, and then move on and kind of concentrate on the positives. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to stop right there. That's not news right there. That's just our thoughts, our quick thoughts, and just trying to get people to talk as opposed to talk behind somebody's back or just kind of just drag people through the mud. It's just come on, dude. Everybody's better than that. So that's where we'll leave it. Joe's a little pissed right here because Cash is eating a chew toy. And anyway, so moving on. Yes, on a brighter note, though, we should all be saying happy birthday to Chris. It was yesterday. Chris is 21 years old. Congratulations, buddy. We really
for the
like
19th
you can get
time.
in any bar in the country that you'd like to.
Yep. And I had my first drink. I had my first alcoholic drink.
Congratulations. It probably made you feel dandy. You ordered that Sex on the Beach, didn't you? Because you heard so many great things about it.
So many. I couldn't even finish.
All right. Oh, hey, it was a funny joke. Joe, it was funny. He's like, that was terrible. Come here, bud. Come here. Get over here. Anyways, let's just say hi to some people here before we move on, because y'all saw the thumbnail. Drew is here to talk Daredevil. Drew, if you don't know Como Comics, you should be following Como Comics, by the way. He does some amazing videos, analysis. He's also, he knows his comic books. Am I right? One of your best lines, too, is, these are not ours to keep. We will someday die, and they will move on somewhere else. I love that, by the way.
I stole it from Indiana Jones, man.
Well, what
straight out of Radar?
You should not have said that, by the way, because I didn't put two and two together.
Give credit.
All right, but let's just say some hello to some people here. We got Steven to the G. We got Todd McFarlane is in the house. Big fan of comic book canon, everybody. The Todd father himself, because he said so. I'll probably get to that in a second. Caleb Leland, how you doing? Sean Ryan, Comic Noob, Raw Dog Comics. We got 360, a.k.a. Joe, in the house, who reminded me to say that. Circumstances is in the house. Who else do we got? Mark Bronikowski. Raw Dog did say don't bring the drama. We just touched upon it briefly. It ain't no big deal. We're all good. X11, Mikey Hags. Who else do we got? Peter Thornton. Matt Stadge. Dan De La Torre. Maz's Toy Box. Nikita Kare. Gosh, so many good people. Spider Dude had their first post for Fresh from the Comic Book, Fresh from the Comic Shop, and we got Fat Dad. Hey. All right, guys, here we are. Instead of a top 10 this week, we are going to have Drew sit in and explain to us first off why he came up with your top 10 Daredevil comics to have. The link is down below because we're not going to cover all top 10. This is kind of a cross promotional thing where you'll have to go watch his video now too to see where it goes from 5 to 1. But we do have 10 to 6 here, and we're going to get into that. But first, tell us about this video. Tell us why you did it, why you produced it, and let's just get right into number 10.
You can find this video on YouTube, which, as I understand, means my tube. So, Daredevil
mean a lot of other things too.
Yeah, exactly. SDCC was a couple of weeks ago, and the very last clip or second or two of the trailer that Marvel put out for She-Hulk showed somebody that might look like this guy that had a show on Netflix earlier. He goes by, his name's Matt. He does lawyering stuff, but he also runs around at night and hits people with a stick, and people enjoy that. So I'm like, hey, let's talk about Daredevil. It seemed like there's lots of characters that could be talked about, but I thought between the hype of is that really Daredevil and then the show dropping this week that it was a good time to talk about Daredevil. It's kind of front and center. And also I was a little bitter because I tried to bring home a Daredevil one a couple times last weekend from Chicago, and I just couldn't make it work. So it was therapeutic for me as well.
Have you ever owned a Daredevil #1?
I haven't. I've missed out on 3 Daredevil #1s, like legitimate, honest to God, could have bought them, but X happened in the last 2 years, and I'm starting to take it personal.
And correct me if I'm wrong. What you just said in the last week or two, you had two opportunities.
Well, there were a couple I was looking at the show.
Okay.
I went up there. I'm like, I've got a bunch of books that I don't have a ton of money in that are worth a lot of money now. So I'm like, I'll try and trade some stuff, and not to get ahead of myself for my fresh from the comic shop picks, but I didn't get any of the big deals done that I wanted to get done. I have kind of laughed because one of the books I was really going hard for, I've seen the seller post on Instagram twice in the last week with a reduced price from what I was willing to give him for in trade value. So that makes me smile. But
okay, all right, you'll get there. I believe in you.
Yeah,
Before we do, I don't know, Chris, we need a graphic that does say breaking news, because Todd McFarlane is breaking news on the show tonight. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we are killing off Spawn next issue. I do believe Spawn is already dead.
Yeah.
Technically.
he died in the first issue, right?
So elaborate a little bit there, but thank you, Todd Father. We appreciate you being here. Good friend of the show, by the way. Good friend of the show. All right, let's just get into it. Number 10. We're gonna show it off, and you're gonna explain why this is at number 10. Don't give us all the details that you have in your video, because people need to watch that video. The link below, and if you're not following Cobalt Comics, shame on you. Here we go. At number 10, what do we have?
All right. Am I going to say it first, or are we going to put the graphic up?
Yeah, I like the sense of drama that we create here.
That was, everybody's just feeling the tension now. So.
And there we go.
There it is. All right.
Oh, yeah.
This is Spectacular Spider-Man 27. It's a cool cover, but the important thing here is it's the first time Frank Miller actually drew Daredevil. Why he was drawing an issue of Spider-Man, I don't really know that, because he wasn't the regular artist by any means, I don't think. Right. But one of the factoids I will throw out, it's actually kind of a bit of coming full circle with this issue, because legendary Spider-Man artist, and I say that every time because he's my favorite artist, and thankfully nobody hates me for saying that every time, but John Romita Sr. first drew Spider-Man in Daredevil. So the flip side of that coin, the payback, if you will, is that legendary Daredevil artist and all-around creator Frank Miller got to first draw Daredevil in an issue of Spider-Man. So there you go.
That's what we call synergy right there. And
that's right.
Honestly, that as Frank Miller, his run is associated with Daredevil, this is a good book to definitely have here. Because again, you have these artists that are associated with various characters, as you said, John Romita Sr., even Jr. kind of, he hasn't left the mark like his father, but
he forgot how to draw a curve, like everything straight lines.
True, but as we're saying here, again, Chris, your thoughts on this issue here as well?
Yeah. I mean, as a Spider-Man fan, I haven't even seen the other 9 books, and this might be one of my favorite on the list. I think the reasons why it's here are just right in your face, absolute. And I like that it's still a very affordable book that has a lot of room. You take in the facts of one, Bronze Age and aging out of the Bronze Age, and a lot of more eyes and value being put intrinsically into Bronze Age books. And then you also look at these different factors that I think more collectors are getting real savvy to. We're going outside of first issue, first appearance. This is first artists on their character light that they made their legendary mark in. And those things are becoming more and more important. So that's going to keep driving this value up even more. So I absolutely like seeing this book on this list.
So basically what we're saying, Drew, is we approve of this book at number 10, even though you never checked with us first before your Comic Collector series went live. But if you don't want to, check out the link down below, because we're not covering all these books. So let's get into it, though. The next book at number 9, drama, pause,
wait for it,
and reveal.
All right. Daredevil 43. This one is a cover pick. It's Jack Kirby really being kind of Jack Kirby, because it's not, as you look at it, it's not your typical square off, here's who's in the book, all that kind of thing. You've got this weird perspective. Like, just look how big Captain America's fist is right there. It kind of gives you this whole depth of field. It's not Rob Liefeld, who just can't draw things. But it's a cover that has been homaged I don't know how many times. I mean, and I'm not just saying that to be conversational. I honestly don't know how many times that this cover has been reimagined or utilized as inspiration for other comic covers. But it's the King doing his thing. So that's why I picked this one. And the best thing is, one of the points I make as I'm talking about one of the Silver Age books on the list, spoiler alert, there's more than one. Daredevil has been incredibly underappreciated in the market for a long time. So once you get out of the main keys in that run, a lot of just books like this, you can get a really nice copy of this book for a couple $100, like really, really nice. And if you're more of a mid-grade collector, you can find this thing for $20 or $30 most likely.
This is a great pick as well. It's something that's not on everybody's radar, even though a lot of you guys are saying that you do have this. But again, it's just Kirby. When you say Kirby at his finest, when isn't he at his finest, right? I know he has things that stick out here and there, but his work is just synonymous with what we thought of early in our, just creating this, like this. I'm just making no sense whatsoever, but Kirby is the king for a reason. So let's just leave it at that. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I promise you, I'm not a yes man, but I'm just yesing to everything Drew is saying so far. I agree with, like, if because obviously as a content creator myself, somebody who does similar videos where we look at books, as possible investments or things to collect for whatever reasons. All of these are things that Drew's saying are things that would come to my mind too. I'm not somebody that wants to talk about the same top dollar books over and over again. There's something there with this book that is unique. And when you take into consideration what he said about the underappreciated, the future value that could be had with these Daredevil books, outside of the big keys, Silver Age book, Kirby goodness, awesome cover that just pops out at you. I agree. I agree 100%. And I think it goes to show too, if you have any type of investment bone in you, right? I always encourage people to look at percentages, right? I think too many people put their eggs in one basket and they think they need to go for the big bucks or the big whatever. This is a book right now that even in those lower grades or lower mids that you may be able to buy a copy for $20, $30 in, percent wise, how Silver Age Marvel books like this are appreciating. Again, nobody can predict the future, but it's a solid low risk investment because you're not putting so much money into it.
It's a great piece to have on your wall too. I mean, any
Mhm.
Kirby work, By the way, I do have some updates with Todd McFarlane. We're just going to update every interesting piece he has to say. Jack had a nice backyard. May he rest in peace. Also, he would argue that he stole the king crown from Jack Kirby. So,
Ooh.
all right, well played.
Dancing on his grave a little there.
What's that?
He's dancing on his grave a little.
Really
there.
is. Todd, we did not know you had it in you. We thought you had a little bit more respect for Jack the King Kirby, but give us more of your further thoughts on that. All right. At number 7. Or no, number 8. I'm sorry. Don't want to skip over one. Here we go.
Oh.
Number 8.
Here he comes.
Pause. Dramatic effect. And
I'm just as surprised as you all are.
release.
All right. Hey. Yeah. I mean, this book, nobody needs to talk about it. It's Daredevil 181. It's incredibly overprinted. There are literally copies everywhere, but it's still a really big deal. Of course, I consider this to be the peak of Miller's initial run on Daredevil. Just the classic showdown between Elektra and Bullseye. And let's be honest, I mean, Miller kind of made Bullseye, the Bullseye we all know. So it's kind of poetic that the character he created and the character he made not suck anymore come to blows at the pivotal moment in his run. It's just one of those great books. When it came out, I think we're like at 81 or something like that, if I remember off the top of my head. Comic characters died, but it's not like the 90s where it's like, hey, we need to sell a couple extra 1,000 issues. Let's kill somebody. We'll bring them back in a couple months. Never mind the fact that happened here, but characters didn't die, especially not characters that, and I hope 40 years later, this isn't spoiler alert, a TV show and a movie later as well. The whole arc really after Miller got a hold of the reins when it came to writing the story was centered around Elektra and the Hand. And to have that kind of build up, this was not the outcome you were expecting. Like, you don't off the focal point of your whole story. This isn't Game of Thrones, not that was a thing yet. But it's just Alex, the comic hoarder, I think probably puts it best. He's been talking a lot about foundational books. This is a foundational book. If you're a comic fan, especially a Bronze Age or Copper, this one's kind of on the border there, wherever you want to file it away. But it's just one of those books that represents a critical moment in superhero comics. Marvel, more specifically Daredevil, of course, or just Frank Miller's storytelling in general, because keep in mind, he leaves Daredevil a few months after this, and then you get Batman Year One, then you get Dark Knight Returns, then he comes back for Born Again, and it's just, and then Sin City, it's just, and then this is the moment that springboards into all that.
I find this interesting because especially what you said about, back then, killing a character had more impact, right? On top of the fact that this was such a major character in Matt Murdock's life, she was only around for 18 months, maybe? How long? It was like 13 issues earlier. She was
168.
So that what is this one is? Yeah. So that's 13 issues. Am I right?
Yeah, a little over a year.
14. So like honestly, it was that's again, it's a surprise. None of us were. I didn't read this when it came out. I don't know the impact it did have. And obviously, as we look at it now, it doesn't have much because she's, a mainstream character, pretty much having her own solo film. But back then, it was a big deal. And I do like this book. However, I did not know there was such a high print run on this, Drew.
Yeah, I want to say I read a note somewhere that said the run was, upwards of over 100,000 copies.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty big for back then. Am I right? Yeah.
It's substantial. I don't know that it was really big. I mean, it's especially the thing that I think that a lot of people don't understand today is the fact that print runs have actually been shrinking since the Golden Age, because they used to make 1 million books back in the Golden Age because, we didn't have phones or video games or plastic toys, anything. It was all newsstand distribution, and whatever didn't sell, they destroyed.
Good point. And as Chris always says, it's not about the print run, it's about supply and demand. Chris, your thoughts on this? At number 8.
Yeah. I mean, and I've said this a lot, and I will acknowledge that maybe it's just a personal preference, but I love Elektra, and I think Elektra is an overlooked character. But like I said, I mean that boils down to preference. But again, a lot of great points from Drew. I mean, you take in what Frank Miller was doing during the time, the characters that he was both creating and utilizing, and how he was working those. I mean, I think, and again, not being obviously, I wasn't reading Daredevil as a kid, and I wasn't really into much of anything Daredevil until much later in life, and understanding Frank Miller's impact. But you can't. I don't think you get a lot of what you had in leading up into the 80s, and you got the early 80s and what he was doing, and then going into that decade. I think if Frank wasn't doing what he was doing, especially within this run, a lot of that other stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, basically most of your 80s comics, as far as what people view as the advancement in the story, is built on the back of the things Frank Miller was doing. And then if you hop over to DC, Alan Moore on Swamp Thing was doing his thing. And most of what we know in the last 30 years, story-wise, doesn't happen without those two guys.
Opened up a whole new era of comic books. This is 181, issue 181, Brian Wilson. Looks like somebody answered that already. So loving this list. Again, people, you're not going to see the whole list, so click on the link below. Make sure you follow Como Comics. Drew is a great person to be in this community. He knows his stuff, I would have to say. Guys, I do want to talk about something here. Tom McFarlane's thinking about making the next issue of Spawn and Acetate variant. A company called Black Flag reached out to him. What do you think? We'll talk about that at the end of the show. How about that? Well done, though. Well played, though, there, Todd. We love you, man. Where have you been for the last 110 episodes we've done? For goodness sakes. All right, moving on. At number 7, here we go, guys. Look at this.
All right. So this is, one of the points I make in the video is you can call it a couple different things. This is essentially Daredevil Volume 2, number 1. It's also was done under the Marvel Knights imprint, which was a thing there for a little while. Main takeaway here is the creative team. You've got Kevin Smith writing it, Joe Quesada on the art, Jimmy Palmiotti, who a lot of people would become fans of his art later on, handles the inks. So it's a pretty loaded issue as far as the creative side goes. Of course, Marvel in the late 90s just shut down everything, relaunched the whole line, all these legacy titles that were hundreds of issues in, got a brand new number 1, because basically, to boil it down, number 1 issues sell. They know that. That's why so many new titles came in with new number 1s in the 90s. It's like people will buy a number 1 because they think it'll be worth money. So when you're selling comic books, the more number 1s you make, the more issues you sell. Or that was a train of thought. The cool thing about this series, it's got some pretty heavy hitters on the creative side throughout the length of it. I go into it in the video a little bit, but some of the names that are always top of mind when I think about this, Kevin Smith, of course, that's a lot of name recognition, but then Brian Michael Bendis takes over, tells some great gritty noir stories. He'd been writing Powers for Image for a while, so he kind of came from that whole gritty noir kind of storytelling style. Ed Brubaker picks it up from there. Andy Diggle comes in there. It's just, there's some really great reading in this volume. And I should probably back up now that we're on the second to last book and say the focus of this video, as it says in the graphic, it's the collector series. So these aren't going to be books that are, Daredevil 1's not on this list. Your major first appearances, your incredibly expensive issues aren't going to be on this list. This is stuff that people who are everyday run-of-the-mill collectors would have an interest in owning. Books that are fairly affordable. Obviously, budgets are subjective, but Daredevil Volume 2, if you want to put together a good run of Daredevil that's also going to be a decent read, I think it's a great option for you because it only runs like 120 some odd issues, something like that. Ends with Shadowland. You get one of the last arcs is Lady Bullseye, which is a fantastic read. So I just recommend this run all around. Good to collect, good to read.
And it's my apologies for not teeing up the collector series here and what that entails, but I think you cleared that up just fine. Again, you're not going to find these major keys. Am I right, Drew? But you're going to find some interesting ones that stick out. And this is one. Echo was introduced in this run as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Within the first few issues, was it 9 or 10, something like that?
Yeah. Chris, your thoughts on number 7 here?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with this run. I actually had recently started buying some of the run just because of the cover art. Great covers on this run. This is a great one right here.
Awesome. I don't think is it fair to say he doesn't get much respect in terms of his artwork, considering he became an executive at Marvel?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very talented guy. And then if I remember later on, you get Malieve, you get oh damn, I had somebody else their name in mind, but the covers are very strong throughout most of this run. They really did a good job in staffing it with good writers and artists as well.
I want to say too, to Drew's point, talking about all the kind of the fallout that happened in the 90s and the whole resetting and them trying to figure things out. I think they went back to being like overly cartoonish in their styles and, thinking that, I don't know if they were thinking it was retro, but I finally, it didn't take long for them to concoct this whole Marvel Knights. And I think this, although, and I've read a few of the Marvel Knights runs, and they were all decently done. And I think this was almost the beginning of them realizing, okay, how are we going to survive the 90s and come out of this? And I think they started putting some of those pieces and blocks together to then, influence all the positive things that evolved over again that next decade going into the 2000s.
Mm-hmm. It was also the Marvel Knights line was, in a way, a response to Vertigo that preceded the Marvel Max line, which was more like straight up mature readers. The Knights was more street level, edgier characters for the most part, and they kind of leaned into that a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it got pretty bad late 90s there in terms of what they were doing. So I like that. This is kind of what the transition was to get it back to kind of more roots, the roots of the characters and darker tone. So we all appreciate that. All right. We appreciate you, Drew, and your collector series here because we are at number 6, and that's where it stops. If you guys want the next 5, you have to go to Drew's video, which is the link is down below. You also should be following Drew at Como Comic. Anyways, the link is down below for that too. Como Comic, is it? Because that's right there is your Instagram.
That's IG.
.comic.book, but it's but your YouTube is Como Comics, right?
Como Comic Books, yeah. No dots there. No dots.
No dots though. That's no dots. I apologize, people. It's been a very long week for me. I'm not making any excuses, but it's been a very long week for me. Moving on. Here we go. Number 6, the last on this list for this show. And here it is.
Hey, Daredevil 254. I learned in the comments to my video that apparently Typhoid Mary did make it into the Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Fist season 2, somebody told me.
Yep.
I thought it was season 3.
They did a 3rd season of that show?
No, it was only 2 seasons.
For Daredevil?
Okay. No.
For Iron Fist.
Oh, Iron Fist. Oh,
yeah. So, full disclosure, I completely wrote that off my brain. I didn't know, or I didn't recall that she'd ever been on there, but I still like Typhoid Mary. I did not like the Iron Fist show, which is probably why I have no memory of it.
Yeah.
That said, This is a great book. Another one of those things that kind of comes full circle. John Romita not only was a great Spider-Man artist, that his son had a great Spider-Man run, he was also a good Daredevil artist, and his son also had a good Daredevil run. And this is probably my second favorite John Romita Jr. Daredevil issue. First appearance of a character that was really influential during this time. Like Typhoid Mary was in a lot of issues around this time following her first appearance here. She was basically the Kingpin's favorite henchman for a good long run. And it's uncommon to see a villain that has the importance to the story that she has of that age, whose first appearance can still be had in near mint for $25. For comparison, this book came out in May 1988. It's not the only villain first appearance that came out in 1988. Does anybody in the chat know who I'm referencing? What other villain came out in 1988 that's a major Marvel character?
Jesus. Not Jesus. I bet.
No, I'm assuming he made his first appearance in that Pope John Paul II special back in early 80s.
Well played.
Maz's Toy Box is the first in my list here. Venom.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 300 came out that same month.
Yeah, Dan De La Torre said it. We are learning from Professor Drew. That is well played. And that's my bad. I could have sworn that Typhoid Mary was in Daredevil season 3, but you're right. It was Iron Fist. Maybe I forgot and just wanted to put her in to Daredevil season.
Yeah, I'm scared. Maybe I do need to go back and watch that, but
there's no need. No need. All right, Chris, your thoughts on this book?
Yeah, again, what's interesting, I'm coming from a collector standpoint who's never really been that much into Daredevil as a collector. Something like this has never really been on my radar. I only recently started really wanting to collect his run maybe a couple years ago. So I actually don't even know if I have this copy. But again, fair and valid points. This is the type of stuff that Drew's kicking here that is very important to the collector and the unique reasons of why we want to enjoy these hobbies and what characters we want to dive into. And then, and you think about all these factors and variables, and these are the things that build the foundation that then drive the value, and I think that's what we need to get back into. I really like this idea from you, Drew, because, you're not, I'm going to look at these books, and actually what I see this list as being so far, obviously we're not going to see the top 5. These are actually, in my humble opinion, all decent, low-risk books to invest in. They're not huge, big money grabs out of your pocket. They're all affordable copies, and I do think they all have potential to grow for different reasons. But you don't even need to think about those things, because we forget that the framework of collectability doesn't start with just automatically assuming that, these are going to be valuable. I need, FOMO. You get back into enjoying the heart of the comic, enjoying the characters, and enjoying the reasons of why these comics are important. It brings inherent value, which then creates the domino effect and the correlation of it later having some type of possible monetary value. Now, I'm not saying that. I hope people don't take what I'm saying wrong and think that, I'm going to go, this is a spec book. Well, Journo's saying it's a spec book because no. I'm just saying it's very refreshing to see these takes on books. And I'm not saying that this book will ever be a big top dollar book, but if we just get back to collecting, we can both be collectors that enjoy the characters, enjoy the art, enjoy the stories, that can then 10 years, 20, 30 years down the road, have some collectibles that could be worth some monetary value as well.
Well said. I do remember this book. I do remember this run. My brother collected this run. I did not. And I remember Typhoid Mary, she is just creepy as hell looking. And the way he drew her, I It definitely left a mark on me to the point where I was like, I don't know. I wasn't scared, I don't think, but maybe I was. That's why I just didn't collect it. But my brother was heavy into Daredevil big time back then in the 80s. All right, guys, that is it. Number 10 to number 6. Drew has number 5 to number 1 on his link down, the link down below in his video. Y'all better be following him as well. Guys, we should have brought Todd McFarlane on as a guest. This is his first show. He's definitely been here. This is a fun fact here, actually. What's the difference between John Romita Jr.? Oh, hold on. That's not the one I wanted right there. What's the difference between me and John Romita Jr.? I'm worth $300 million. So, yeah, he brings the ego, too. I love it, man. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Where have you been? Anyways, I put Joe agreed, Chris. I put more into my 401k than I do into comics.
That seems like a good life goal.
Yeah. What, to put more money into your comics than your 401k?
No. What he said, put his 401k first, then comics later.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's the way to go. However, it is tempting. Anyways, moving on though, guys. This show is just it's moving too fast, and we appreciate having Drew here, an alumnus from the comic book canon guest co-host lore. We have so many of them, but there's only a few that really have made it to the status that Drew has had. Close to Hall of Fame. You're not there yet. I think
close.
A few more games you need to play to show us your stuff. But Chris, we do this segment each and every week where you can win some prizes. What's it called?
Fresh from the comic shop.
That's right, fly from the pressing salon. We ask you all fine people to show off your fresh gets each and every week, and you never disappoint. You never do. You put them on Instagram. You use the hashtag FFTCS that just hasn't been working for like 2 months now. You tag us at Comic Book Canon, and we show them on the show. That is right. And then you could also win some amazing prizes from EGS Comics. That's right, EGS, the Slabtastic. I just said that for the first time. The Slabtastic company that slabs your comics, puts them in a unique little, based off of your request, gives you an option to have some unique looking slabs. No other company does that. Is transparent with the graders notes, and just great people like Tony Trombetta. Chris, you're about to say something else. Go ahead. Follow up.
Nope.
No.
But if you want me to jump in, I sure as hell.
I do, because not only can they win, but they can win right now without submitting. Why is that, Chris?
Without submitting?
No.
Oh, they can win a discount.
The comic shop.
Right. Yep, you're absolutely right. Guys, if you haven't checked out EGS Comics yet, check out their website, egscomicsgrading.com. That link is below as well. If you use the code CANON5, you will get 5% off of your order. And again, as Jeff was speaking on, they have optional custom labels. You can see a large variety of what they offer there. They do have their standard universal blue label. You see an older one there. They have updated that label, and the new updated ones look super sharp and crisp. Of course, free graders notes, no matter the grade, for every book. Fast turnaround times compared to the competition, obviously. And a huge announcement that EGS just made last week. They have now their own proprietary cases. So if you are putting in orders right now, they're not going to be available for another 2 or 3 weeks or so. But you can put your order in and request that you get your books back in those new slabs, the proprietary cases. And I've seen them on screen. Obviously, haven't held one in person yet. I personally have a couple books waiting there at EGS myself. Can't wait to do a video on it. So again, guys, check out the website, save 5%, go support EGS.
That is right. Again, you must clarify that you do want to wait for those new cases. Right. And Chris, Drew, we have the submission where, you submit and you may, at the end of each episode, we pick a semifinalist to have the audience vote on, and you can win an EGS slab. Now, to win an EGS slab, what are the criteria we're looking for? Because Drew, we got to refresh your memory. You have some responsibilities tonight.
Yes, sir.
Looking for a well-composed shot, something that looks just amazing outside the box. People you want to look at are Comic Ozzy, He always is posting some amazing looking shots with that depth of field, something creative, something that relates to the book that you are submitting. Got a few of those this week, and they are quite dandy. Chris, explain the next one, which is unique books.
Yeah, guys, again, it doesn't have to be a big super key. Any type of uniqueness, whether it's just something we don't see every day. And of course, if you have a unique story behind the book, that always gives extra brownie points as well. I think
our heartstrings.
Yeah, we recently had, I think one of our recent winners had an amazing
Raw Dog Comics with Star Wars, who is our semifinalist from last week, who will be going up against this week's semifinalist. Raising Elm, I know you're a little bit late to the chat, but yes, Todd McFarlane is really here. It's the real Todd McFarlane.
He said so himself.
He said so. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And we have some more breaking news, guys. Wow. Not to hag the spotlight, but I need to publicly announce something. Donny Cates is my biological son. That's huge. That's like tabloid stuff. Thank you for breaking it here, Todd. Todd, Father, we greatly appreciate that. All right, Drew, are you ready? Again, big responsibility, fresh from the comic shop.
I am physically and mentally prepared.
Okay, what'd you do physically to get prepared? I'm just curious because I've never.
I'll have to tell you behind the scenes. It's not fit for public consumption.
All right, it's probably gross.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
We got to remind everyone too. Do we have a book that that EGS is giving away this month?
Oh Jesus, that was my whole thing to give the criteria. Yeah, the August fresh from the comic shop is. Boom! Look at this beauty right here. Look at this. You got Lady Death, Treacherous Infamy #2, 9.8 EGS. Look at that. Again, that is a custom slab right there based off of the colors off of that book. You could also do some other creative, fun things as well. Tony is up for it, and he wants to hear what you want, and he'll make it happen for sure. Most of the time.
And remember, guys, if you enter Fresh from the Comic Shop and you want a chance to win, you have to be following EGS on Instagram, and you have to be subscribed to their YouTube.
We forgot that.
You can, we'll show off your fresh get, but you will not be entered to win the slab.
Facts. All right, what do we got? C to the G. The last post about San Diego Comic-Con 2022, he promises. Going into the con, I didn't have a want list. It was more like whatever caught my eye at a reasonable price. But I knew that I wanted this set for sure. The first day I got up and I got into the queue to enter the convention center at 6 a.m. Doors opened at 9:30. Boy, I needed coffee. Once things got going, I got to the show floor and made it to the booth. Third in line. You better have been at least third in line. Once secured, I could just enjoy the con with one less thing to stress about. Star Wars: The Mandalorian #1, San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Adi Granov Virgin sketch and color variants from Trinity Comics. That's beautiful. And that, honestly, you put the work in there. So congratulations on that. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. We got TM Nerdy. Always opens with this line, everybody. Snoochie Boochies, my friends. Happy New Comic Book Day. Happy What If Wednesday. Today, I decided to go with an issue of What If that is brand new to my collection. Just revived it Tuesday from my shop. Captain Canada Comics, maybe? This is What If, number 15. What if Nova had been 4 other people? Happy to add another What If comic to my ever-growing What If collection. I would also like to submit this to Comic Canon Fresh for the Comic Shop. Consider it submitted, TM Nerdy, and we appreciate it greatly. Next up, we got Marvel Man 616 Comics, Black Panther #2, featuring Dr. Doom and Shuri as Black Panther. Lots going on with this book here. You know, we may see Dr. Doom. There's rumors. Shuri may be the next Black Panther. We don't know. But all that comes together on this wonderful cover, and we appreciate you sharing that with us, Marvel Man 616. Drew, you are our guest, so you get first. Your first fresh get of the week.
Okay, well, this is premiere stuff here. I haven't even shared this on my channel or Instagram, so outside of the people who were at the show with me, nobody knows what I bought at C2E2. So first up, I have Tales to Astonish 45. Let's see if I can get it to focus.
Look at that.
There we go. It's not an immaculate copy by any means, but that's not really what I collect. This is the second appearance of the Wasp, and it was one of the last 3 issues of Tales to Astonish that I needed. So
Interesting.
One down.
So you have two more you
That's
need to finish off the collection. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'll have all the superhero issues. I haven't really made an effort to go after the non-hero issues. So 1 through 26, 28 through 34. But
and Maz's toy box makes it a good point. And I feel like everybody says this too. My likes make all books look good. Absolutely 100%.
If you're a seller, it costs more, but the bump you get in visual appeal, you'll sell a lot more books.
There you go.
It's science.
And that's from somebody that goes to shows and sells quite a bit. Moving on, we got Raising Elm Comics. You are in the chat. We know you are. I swear, because we've seen you talk or chat or whatever. To my best friend of 20 plus years, Steven. Happy belated birthday, dude. Blame CGC for your gift being 4 months late. I hope you will enjoy adding this slab to your collection. The Last Ronin, issue number 1, third print, signed and sketched by Kevin Eastman. I haven't read the full story, but what I do know about is this. Family is forever. Love you, bro. To Chris, Jeff, and Drew, if you're curious about where I got the pizza box, I picked it up on my first tour to Afghanistan years ago. Needless to say, I didn't expect to see Heroes in a half shell over in the sandbox. Happy Sunday, y'all, and thank you for your service, by the way. And first off, let me get this down right here because I think I got the pizza box here a little bit closer. Wow. Look at that. That's nice. Cool. That's very cool. Love right there. It. That means something. That says something, and it's it's a good story, is what we're talking about. That's a good example of that.
And it's turtles, so he's speaking my language.
There we go. You can't go wrong with turtles, honestly. You can't go wrong with turtles. All right, moving on. We got Mark Leneker, usually bringing in the Golden Age, Silver Age goodness, but this week's Fresh from the Comic Shop is truly fresh from the comic shop. Love Everlasting #1 from Image Comics is a throwback to 50s and 60s romance comics with a dose of Quantum Leap and maybe, just maybe, a pinch of supernatural horror. Writer Tom King nailed the soap opera melodrama and the premise intrigues. Plus, come on, when was the last time you had dialogues on the cover, not to mention a freaking thought bubble? It takes you back. He had me at Quantum Leap. He had me at Quantum Leap, 100%. And by the way, it takes us back. I was never around really for the 50s where they did have the thought bubbles and all the romance and all that stuff. Mark Leneker, I don't think you're that old as well. But anyways, also, I've been stretching this out a little bit because I do not know where Chris went. So don't be alarmed, guys, if you don't see him on the couch. He's there. I promise. He is there. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to show off my first fresh get of the week. Full disclosure, I had no time for anything this week. I only have 2 fresh gets. 2. Technically 3, but I'm showing 2 off right now. I love this series. It's been pretty hot because it's been optioned by Amazon. But I've read up to issue 3. I have not read this issue 4, but this is 8 Billion Genies, number 4. I don't know, Drew, I don't know if this is up your alley here. Usually these are not, but oh my God. It's such a cool premise. And this is the cover B, by the way.
I don't know a lot about it. I did get to see a lot of it because Ryan Brown was at C2E2 and my buddies who I was with wanted to stop by there, and I got to talk to him a little bit. But no, it sounds like it's been really well received, and people are enjoying it.
Chris, sorry, man. I told people not to be alarmed. I see you moving around there. You may be changing clothes. No. The premise is, 8 billion genies arrive on Earth, and what happens when each person gets one wish? It's chaos. It's so cool because anything is possible. And so cool how they address idiots, making the first thing that comes to mind. So cool seeing how people think well thought out things, especially, I'm not going to spoil anything, but especially the first few characters you meet. One character had a really well thought out wish. He planned for this to happen if it ever happened. And it's just, I highly encourage you all to read this. Option by Amazon. I think when you see an option from Amazon, it's usually a good bet that it's going to air. I'm not guaranteeing anything here, but I will say that Paper Girls was good, Chris, by the way, up until the last episode. We'll talk later. Okay. Moving on, though, we got, Chris, I skipped you, by the way, for your first fresh get of the week. Why don't you just show it? Go for it.
All right. Well, this is, I did an unboxing, very special fresh get this week because this was a gift from somebody in the chat right now. Raising Elm Comics,
Oh,
Justin.
yeah.
Again, I got to show it off again and say thank you so much. Amazing Spider-Man number 21. Nice, beautiful looking early Silver Age of my Grail run. I mistakenly said that this was the first appearance of the Beetle in my unboxing video, but it is his second appearance, first appearance in the Spider-Man title.
Mhm.
But again, I had to pick this week because of what it means to me, generosity, the relationships that we build in this community, and Raising Elm. I appreciate you.
Oh, that is very sweet.
Absolutely.
I do have to say, Chris, and no knock on that issue, but the Beatles design from the 60s is funny.
Well, he looks so much better on this cover than he did on his first appearance. Like, it's a major improvement.
Yeah, it's funny, but he definitely has upgraded his costume. By the way, I got this wrong about Raising Elm. I brought up, it was the white box.
Yeah.
Oh!
Behind the shadow.
Damn it. My bad. My bad indeed. I thought it was the pizza box that he was holding. All right. My bad. All right. Anyways, you win some, you lose some. Am I right? I do want to mention also, not only do we have Tom McFarlane here, but we do have his son, Donnie Cates. Has made it into the chat. So lots going on here, guys. I think there's a lot of back and forth between those two. Yeah. So anyways, interesting family dynamics. All right, moving on. Who do we have? I do believe we have Nuke's Comics. That's right. Fresh from the comic shop, The Amazing Spider-Man 392, Shrieking Heart 3. This is a beautiful homage cover of Amazing Spider-Man number 50 by Bagley. Will Aunt May recover? I picked this up from DBS. Good stuff indeed. I think that's my line. I say that quite a bit, but I do like this cover. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this. I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Moving on, we got Super Crispy Comics. And this right here, again, is a way to just a beautifully captured photograph right here. Beautiful right here. And the book is as well, too, by the way. Check this out, fellas. My fresh from the comic shop for this week is this awesome mofo right here. He did type mofo, by the way. X-Men number 33. My brother and I went on a mystery box chasing this book and got it. It's awesome. It's awesome that we are still chasing comics and baseball cards ever since Little League. Collecting's cool, but being able to collect with your family is even better. Yeah, have to say that my brother is not into collecting comic books anymore. He's a scientist, so he does like boring stuff, trying to save
things.
Yeah, like he's all up on his soapbox, trying to save the world and all this nonsense. Whatever. Just buy some buy some more Daredevil comic books, please. Drew.
Yes, sir.
Of the week. What do you got?
All right. So I got another Tales to Astonish. So I got two of the three I need. Wait for it. This is issue 46. It was owned by Michael Wilson.
Oh, Mike.
So, Mike, thanks, buddy. This is another early Wasp appearance, and it's apparently thinks it needs to focus on me, not the book. But I'm just going to assume it's a terrible read. The Cyclops that walks the earth. So I don't know. Like I said,
you're going to assume it's a terrible read?
Yeah, I'm judging it by its cover, but a Cyclops picking a boat up out of the water seems like something that should have been in this book 2 or 3 years before superheroes. So
interesting. So you're saying that it's probably not believable.
Yeah, no.
It won't suspend your belief. Like,
honestly, if you read a couple of these early Tales to Astonish, it's like, okay, we've written Spider-Man, we've written the Fantastic Four, we've written X-Men. What else we got? Crap, we still got to do an Ant-Man story. Let's just do this. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It's like they didn't put a lot of effort into it.
Or they got their fifth call. I don't know who wrote that. And I don't disparage, but it's like, get Joey on the line. He's the last one I got in my Rolodex. All right, moving on. We got Nori Jordan. By the way, Drew, I don't know how often you watch our show, but
pretty regular.
Yeah, Nori Jordan loves Thunderbolts.
Okay.
But there's no Thunderbolts here. However, listen, I haven't picked up many new books lately because I'm saving up for a very important book I need. This week's submission pays my respects to the man who created the Thunderbolts, Baron Zemo. I picked up Captain America 275 and 2 copies of 276. One is a Canadian price variant, which is when Helmut Zemo becomes Baron Zemo. These are nice additions to my Thunderbolts related collection. Take care, everyone. Always Thunderbolts related, always, and we appreciate you very much for that. Nori, Jordan, hello. Chris, I don't know where you went, but we're going to keep it going here. We're going to keep it going because Drew can pick up the flag.
We can do this.
Yeah, we can do it. No, we're good. Who do we got next? We got Spider Dude 71. Might I add, Spider Dude 71. First submission to Fresh from the Comic Shop. And here it is. Superman Love. I just got my Golden Age Comics number 75 and thought I would post my first submission. I know my handle is Spider Dude 71, and there will be submissions in the future, including Spider-Man and Star Wars. I just want to show some love for a character that really is cemented in my life because of the time I grew up. I'll be 51 here soon, and anyone my age or around my age remembers they had reruns of the 50s Superman TV series, many Superman cartoons like Super Friends. I would even catch an old 40s Fleischer cartoon of Superman every once in a while. That was killer. Also, I can't forget 1978 movie, and for a 7-year-old going to see Superman on the big screen, got to give Superman some love. Maybe not a key, but it's a book that came out 8 out of 1,944. That's outstanding, by the way. I'd
just like to point out that Superman, who is faster than the Flash, lost this race to a tortoise.
Yeah, dude. Well, you know what? We should read the book to get full context on this.
That's true.
Let's not come to any judgments by the cover. Okay?
Who would do that?
Yeah, exactly. We're here jumping to conclusions right there. Let's just take it back and see what really happened. I don't know what happened. I have never read that book, but I'm really happy Spider Dude has submitted his or her first submission. So really appreciate that.
And a golden age at that.
And I'm all about like, dude, Christopher Reeve is my Superman. I think Henry Cavill is fantastic, but Christopher Reeve was the one that left the impression on me. I mean, obviously I'm not old enough, but I remember watching those 40s cartoons. I remember watching reruns of the 50s Superman show. So Spider-Man is my heart. But Superman is very close to that. So thank you again for sharing. Joe is in the house, aka 360 Comics. There was a new seller at my local flea market this morning, and he had some amazing modern books, all for just $1 a piece. I got a nice fat stack of 40-ish comics, and this is a copy of Hella Risen. First appearance of Punchline. Wasn't even the best book that I got. Stay tuned for a video about that, the haul this week. By the way, 360 Comics link is down below because you have me intrigued, buddy. You have me intrigued, Joe. Go Birds. He's an Eagles fan, just as I am.
And that's a book that was selling at $15 the day it came out.
Yeah, exactly.
For context.
This was like the beginning of the pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah, just before.
So a lot of weirdness. Punchline was hot shit, and she's gonna. I think she's a mainstay. I don't think she's gonna go anywhere. I doubt we'll see levels of Harley Quinn. I don't know, Drew. Your thoughts on that?
A little out of my wheelhouse. It's hard to really judge characters that catch fire so quickly right out of the gate like that. Yeah. So I'm still withholding judgment. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, let's check back in 3 to 5 years and see what we think.
I think you'll agree with this statement. Getting this book for $1
all day, every day.
100%. Now take that swig. I heard it open. There you go. There we go. I'm just going to jump in. I only got 2 books. Well, 8 Billion Genies, cover A, cover B really count as one. So, but also I got this for 99 cents. I was like, why is this in here? I don't know. I just feel like I had to pick it. I don't know why, Drew. I don't know why. I just picked it up. This is Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 120. I got this for $1. I just was like, I got to get this. I don't know. I don't know anything about the story, but I think you saw me earlier in the pre-show smelling it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did it again.
I couldn't tell what it was when you were sniffing it earlier.
No, you didn't see it. Larry Lieber was the writer. Dick Avers was the artist.
Ayers, probably.
Ayers, sorry. Yeah. Looked like
Is it a reprint?
no. This is 1974. So maybe I don't know, man. It's a 25 center. So I don't know.
I can't remember if they kind of pulled an X-Men and started reprinting stories there sometimes. I know there's a title, Blazing Combat or something, that did some Fury reprints. But that title, honestly, is massive. Like, it ran for so long in the Silver Age, and it's, just a book a lot of people don't think about. I don't really consider it a superhero book by any means. It's a war title for sure, but
I mean, this is at the height of like G.I. Joe in the 60s, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like getting it. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, and it was a rare war title for Marvel because I mean, just think all the things DC was putting out,
Yeah.
Star Spangled War Stories. There's a handful of other ones. Unknown Soldier was hot, Haunted Tank, all those things.
Yeah. Again, you're probably right though. This is probably a reprint. It was in the 74. So anyways, moving on. We got Comic Noob. Comic Noob always just dishes out quite a bit, and I was rushing to get into this show tonight. So I just picked the first submission he had. This is an outstanding cover, by the way. I guess this is the new Daredevil series by, I think, Zardisky. Usual pick up my pull list every 2 months because of the distance, and I don't want to change local comic shops because they are like family to me and my wife. That was all that was written about this, so I just wanted to just throw it out there and just show what he got. At least one issue right there. Now, Drew, your third fresh get of the week.
Number 3. Okay.
What do you got?
I picked up the last issue of 12 Cent Thor I needed, which is Thor 127. You got this nice Odin cover. Jack Kirby, of course. Let's see if I can focus in a little bit here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's such a great cover.
I love that Silver Age purple that Marvel had. The yellow is pretty good too, but this is the last 12 Cent Thor I needed, so another title down. To have every 12 Cent Thor and Journey, all I need now is 83. So that one's going to hurt.
That's it. By the way, what's interesting? We just showed off that Hella Risen from Joe, aka 360, and he said he got this book in a flea market today.
That's awesome. And somebody else said it's not a reprint. So
actually, that was Joe. That was Joe who said that.
Okay.
So, interesting. Trying to keep up with all these comments. Usually, it's easier with Chris, but I think he had not life or death emergency. He had a jump. So I'm not sure if he'll be making his way back to the show tonight. But we
shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. That's how you keep people in suspense, Drew. You're
That's
learning
right.
tonight. The way I dished out your 10 through 6.
It's all about the dramatic tension.
I don't think that's going to work for your pre-recorded videos, by the way.
Probably not.
We'll get annoyed at that. However, when it's live,
it works.
Now we got Wanda McFarlane in here, so this is insanity. Moving on, or actually, last one we got here is good friend of the show, Dan De La Torre. What do you got? Dan is doing a really good job in terms of like thinking outside the box, getting creative with his shots here, and I'm loving this. Here's my first from the comic shop: X-Men 172, The Wedding of Logan and Lady Mariko. Here's Logan ready to celebrate with Professor X by opening up a bottle of sparkling cider. That's the only way to celebrate a wedding, guys. Only way to celebrate. However, I appreciate the I guess that's a samurai sword. I'm not, it could be a samurai sword. I know Dan is into martial arts, so he'll have to confirm that. But I like what he did here, and I'm wondering if he just chugged that bottle of cider after he took that picture here.
Look how accurate the sword is.
Yeah,
like the real sword, the one on the cover, like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I did not notice that. Incredible, actually. Look at that.
It's very, very similar.
Really well done, Dan. I appreciate that one greatly. All right. Now, guys, I did not have a third fresh get of the week, but luckily, Drew has a fourth fresh get of the week, which will fill in for my third. And I'm excited. I think he really hyped this up. That's not true. You did not. But
I could.
Just show it. It's probably amazing. Let's go. What do you got?
Very amazing, as a matter of fact. What I have is Amazing Adult Fantasy number 12.
Yeah, look at that. That's right up Mark Laneker's alley right there.
This is 3 issues before Spider-Man comes out. So if you're not familiar with Amazing Adventures, Amazing Adult Fantasy, and Amazing Fantasy, it's all the same series. They just changed the title 3 times. It literally was a dying title, which is the only reason Spider-Man even got made, because Martin Goodman, I believe, was the publisher of Marvel at the time, didn't want a story about a whiny teenager named Spider-Man. So Stan Lee just kind of threw it in there in this dead title. He's like, it's either going to work and we can give him his own thing, or it's going to be dead and I'll just, deal with the fallout on the backside. But with this issue, I now have 1 through 15.
Are you serious?
I have all the Amazing Adventures, Amazing Adult Fantasies, and Amazing Fantasies now.
Oh my gosh. So wait, what is your because we've had one guest on the show that has owned an Amazing Fantasy 15. Mm-hmm. That was Dinesh Shamdasani, who was formerly a Valiant, currently a Bad Idea.
Mm-hmm.
What is your condition of Amazing Fantasy 15?
I bought it raw from a dealer who swore on his life it wasn't restored. I've submitted it twice. It came back restored both times. But the second time I submitted it, it came back at 2.5, and I'd cracked it to have Stan Lee sign it. So I have a restored signature series 2.5.
That's freaking outstanding. That is absolutely outstanding. You're a hero.
It's not the most expensive book I've ever bought. That's how crazy this market is.
Hey, how much do you have a video on you explain the most expensive book that you have?
I don't think so. I've talked about it before, but no, I literally paid more for a copy of Marvel Spotlight 5 last year than I paid for my AF-15.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Marvel Spotlight 5, the first appearance of Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I bought a CGC 8.0, and I paid more for that than I paid for my Amazing Fantasy 15.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Chris is back, everybody. Christopher, how are you? Chris, do you want to show your third fresh get of the week, or should we move on because Drew has some responsibilities?
Yeah, I'm done. I came back obviously as co-host of the show out of respect for you guys and for the audience, but
okay,
I'm done. I
need to let you know something. Drew has issues 1 through 15 of Amazing Fantasy, and as you know, 15 is first appearance of Spider-Man. Just want to throw that out there. Drew!
Yes, sir.
You have a responsibility right now.
I have a decision.
Yeah, when you accepted this gig, you knew what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So we need you to come up with a semifinalist that's going to go up against Raw Dog Comics to become a finalist. What do you got?
It was a tough one this week. There are a couple of really good ones.
Feel free to shout those really good ones out and explain, hey, I like this, and save the one you want to move on to the semifinals for last.
The Afghani pizza box with the Ninja Turtles on it. That's fantastic. Raising L. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my leading contender going into the later rounds. You guys know I'm a sucker for the Turtles, but I gotta say, you don't mess with a guy who puts a katana in his picture. So it's got to go to DDLT. With the edged weapons and sparkling cider. I mean,
he did such a great job. I'm thoroughly impressed. And he is this is his second semifinalist stint. So congratulations to Dan De La Torre. You are moving on to the semifinals, going against Raw Dog Comics. We'll have you guys vote this week on that. Right there. That is the end of this episode, Comic Book Canon. Drew, your thoughts on hosting. Joe, a.k.a. 360, has said that he thinks that you have had more appearances than he has. I think Joe still has some more appearances, but either way, we love you both.
I think this is 3. I think he said he had 2.5. I think this is 3.5 for me. Thankfully, this one's gone better than the half before, where I asked some terrible questions, but that's fine.
Listen, I'm
happy to celebrate with you guys.
Dan De La Torre. Okay, now I will open up that sparkling cider. I think you have to wait till you pass the semifinals, getting into the finals. I don't know. You do what you want. I hope you have more. Okay.
Was that red grape or white grape?
And what year was it, too, by the way? We need to know what year that was.
Got to be a good vintage.
Absolutely. Listen, no, Drew, in all seriousness, we appreciate you. We appreciate how involved you are with the community, how real you are with everybody, giving your advice. Also, having people think outside the box of just keys. Perfect example is this collector series that you do. Follow Drew at the link below. The link below that is his video for the Daredevil comics. I know Joe, aka 360, is going to be checking out that because Daredevil, I think he said, is his favorite. I truly appreciate you, and thank you again for being a co-host on the Canon.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Like I say every time, you know where to find me. If you need me to hop in, lend a hand, anything I can do, I appreciate the invite. And
we've never been to your house, but maybe we can find out where you live. We'll knock on your door, be like, "Yo, we need you," and you'll be like,
"Well, that's the glory of living in the flyover. Like nobody ever stops here, so I just get to live in anonymity. It's great."
Don't you dare us! Don't you dare us!
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, because I know you guys got good barbecue out there. I do believe, right? So
can confirm.
Okay, there we go. Chris, any final words from this week before we say our goodbyes and say we'll see people next week?
I mean, for the audience, some stuff transpired in the middle of the show, so I want to apologize to Drew, to our guests, just because it's not, just the frame of mind that I'm in right now for all this. It sucks. I will say this: the silver lining is that, Drew, I really do appreciate you, because you do epitomize not only what we should be in terms of this platform, being in front of a camera and doing what we do here on YouTube and on social media. You really do epitomize that. You epitomize that as a collector as well, on and off screen. And it's just sad that right now I'm unfortunately so overwhelmed by human beings that can't have the decency, the humility, the maturity enough to be just that, decent human beings. And the fact that it's unfathomable. We are grown ass men, and we use comic books as a way to stir up like real life personal attacks. It's ridiculous. So it's very unfortunate that all that kind of got in the way of a good show. I obviously still a good show. And Drew, again, I appreciate you being the flip side of what's being thrown in my face right now. And it just gives me assurance that, there's good people in the world. There's good in this hobby. And we just got to keep staying on track and stay focused on those things that matter. So.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's a lot to live up to. So I don't know that I embody your words, but I will continue to try.
Thank you. I'll leave it on this. Drew, just keep being you. That's it. And do what you do. And I did not mean to rhyme, whatever. It sounds great. And you all, thank you so much for taking your time to spend with us on a Sunday night. We will see you next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, y'all be good to yourselves and be good to others. Peace.